Welcome, everybody, to the Goth and the Sloth. I am your Sloth, Matt.
And I am Luna the Goth.
We are two friends living a country apart, living our best lives and sharing stories. We're taking the first part of our podcast here to talk about the current COVID problem and crisis and quarantine and everything therewith.
Yeah, this is our fourth episode. I mean, I know you guys can read, but just in case you were lying in your bed in the dark and you didn't know what episode this is our fourth episode. So we're finally starting to work out the kinks that you may have noticed, such as sound.
My voice is
So,
always silky smooth. I don't know what you're talking
yes,
about.
Matt, we all know that your voice is silky smooth. You know, we don't need to talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later, okay? But yeah, hopefully by now, the sound isn't as atrocious as it was in the first episode. Because well, by we, I mean I didn't know the best way to record. So we pulled the sound down in a not great way. But now it should be a lot better. So hopefully it will only get better from now.
Yeah, working out all the kinks. I've tried two microphones, two sets of headsets. Yeah, but hopefully, we're getting it down.
Yeah, it makes us feel like real podcasters.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to start out with a giant correction.
Uh-oh.
So last week I said a thing and I swore that it was true and Matt totally called me on it and I was like, "No, it's true." And it's not true. So essentially treatment for COVID is not covered if you do not have insurance. If you do have insurance, many if not all of the insurance providers are covering treatment for COVID, but if you do not have insurance, you still have to pay between $42,000 and $75,000 if you want to live.
I mean,
So,
living's pretty good.
testing is free,
Testing is
but
free.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, if you get really bad, yeah, that's expensive. Knock on wood, if you do get it, you can write it out with NyQuil and over the store stuff, because that's kind of the weird thing, because we don't have obviously we don't have a vaccine, but it's like a huge hospital bill with all sorts of craziness, or 7 Up and NyQuil.
Yeah, it's really there's no in between. It's like hopefully it doesn't get so bad that you need help breathing. Like that's the big thing
Yeah.
is if you can figure out how to breathe on your own. That's why they say like and I'm sure you guys are probably tired of hearing this, but they that's why they say, if you need to keep your mucous membranes moist. So if you're in a dry climate, you should probably have a humidifier. You should be drinking hot water or hot tea every Matt looks scared. Guys, Matt looks scared.
I have coffee in the morning. Does that count?
Well, just staying hydrated and if you are getting ill, drinking hot water or hot tea regularly just to keep your airways kind of open as possible.
Yeah. Because it can be a little scary for me, because Denver is a very, very dry climate.
Oh, yes. My favorite thing is when people move to Denver and they're like, "What do I do? I'm getting nosebleeds all the time." And I'm like, "You know how people buy cheap chapstick and stick it up their nose? That gonna be you. It's your turn."
Remember, Ralphie, if your nose is bleeding, you're either picking it too much or not enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah, got to get a Simpsons reference in
Oh, man. I feel like, wait, that's what makes us a real podcast. We got a Simpson reference in there. All right. Anyway, that was my big correction of myself from last week.
So let's speak. Well, that kind of leads us into the news. What's going on in Virginia or the world?
Or nothing in between, just the
Nothing in between.
world or Virginia. So I'll start with Virginia. As of today, I guess, we have 6,889 cases and about 1,100 hospitalizations and only 208 deaths, which I say only because I'm pleasantly surprised by that number. Obviously, 208 is a terrifying number. Um, nothing about this pandemic is funny. We're just trying to get through this thing, guys.
Right.
So that's where Virginia is. As far as like state updates or anything like that, honestly, I've kind of backed off of staying super updated because it's just too stressful. I kind of try to keep my ear to the ground for the big stuff, but at this point, there's a massive stay at home order. Everybody has to stay home. Don't go outside. Wear a mask. That's kind of our future for the foreseeable
Yeah.
future. um, but as far as the national news, there were two headlines that really got my attention.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say in a good way, but that's not true. It's all bad. It's all bad. So the first one was that we ran out of money for the payroll, the Paycheck Protection Program, which was a like a government loan that was forgivable for small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a company with 500 under 500 employees, you could apply for money out of this $350 billion fund to help you pay your employees and
Okay.
keep everybody getting paychecks so that they don't have to get unemployment. And if you did use it for that purpose, it's forgivable. There's some, there's fine print everywhere, I'm sure, but that's the general gist. And today we were notified that they've run out.
Oh
So
no.
there are, I mean, I don't know the official numbers, but I think in Florida alone, just because I happened to come across the numbers, they processed like 38,000, but there were 600,000 applicants.
Yep.
So it's like a terrifying number of people who were like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. I'm going to apply for this and I'm going to hopefully keep my, my employees okay for the next 8 weeks." And now it's like back to hopelessness.
Oh no. Yeah, no, I
So,
saw that too.
it's yeah, it's both terrifying and just like we saw this coming. No one thought that this was just going to work out.
Yeah.
Like, no one looked at this and said, "Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah, I'm covered. Trump's got my back on this, guys." So yeah, there are other stimulus packages that are in discussion, but there's nothing solidified yet, and who knows when that would be. So that was headline number one that I was like, oh boy. Oh, also, the reason I was so interested in it is because my dance studio applied and they're out of money. So
Oof.
hooray.
I'm sorry to
So
hear
okay.
that.
Oh yeah, it be the way it be. But yeah, so that was the first one, and then the other one that I saw was that Trump decided to stop sending funds to the World Health Organization.
Oh yeah.
I will say that you can argue that the WHO did not function as it should have in China and they did not handle the situation in an ideal way. And I would say, all right, you're probably right about that. But for the US president to cut the funds to the world, like the only global public health organization in the middle of a pandemic, seems like a terrifying and idiotic move.
Yeah, it's incredibly short-sighted and it seems petty to me. It seems like a petty move.
Yeah, it does. I mean, well, everything he does feels
Oh
petty,
yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, it definitely feels like he got testy or something. But he's playing with, I mean, people are now worried. I've been hearing people say, well, we're not going to get the cure if they come up with it first because we're not funding them anymore. Who knows? It's probably not going to work like that, but still, like, this is a lot of fear that we don't need on top of literally 2,000 people dying per day in the nation.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't need this extra stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's not unsurprising from his history because he pulled out of the nuclear agreement. He just doesn't like world organizations.
Yeah, he is
Um,
like anti-globalist, except he still wants to make money from everywhere else.
yes, only when it, we're gonna skew political, but that's okay. But yeah, no, only whenever it benefits him specifically. Outside of that, like just trying to create a united global front and a united world in a lot of ways. He's anything that does that, he's against.
Yeah, it's pretty rotten,
Because yeah, I
to put it
see.
lightly.
Because yeah, I saw a lot of people in the comments, which yeah, don't dive into the comments on
Why did
this,
you do that?
but they're like, yeah, next we need to pull out of the UN.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah, that's getting us towards the dystopian V for Vendetta future, which you can see my poster.
I can see your poster. I stare at every time we do this podcast.
But yeah, where America was all isolationist again, but then they needed help from everybody because that doesn't work in this economy in this world anymore.
Nope. Nice try. But yeah, anyway. What about you? What's going on in Colorado? What global but not national news did you find caught your attention?
We're now in Colorado. We're at 8,280 cases, which is up 2,000 cases from last week. We got 1,636 people hospitalized, which is up 400 people from last week. And we're now at 357 deaths, which is 131 over last week.
Wow.
So we're getting hit really hard.
Yeah,
Um,
it feels like you guys are accelerating a little bit faster than we are. I think we might be a little behind you in the curve.
yeah, we got hit initially because it really peaked up in the mountain towns and all that, and all the touristy spots, and then Denver just once it got into Denver, it became a
Hmm.
thing.
Of course, yeah. That makes sense.
It looks like we're kind of skewing down on cases, but it's hard to tell because the information that I get from the Denver Public Health website uh, does cases as they are reported. Like, so you take the test, and then they give you the cases when the test comes back, and there's a gap of a few days from taking the test from the test coming back. So the data is slightly skewed, so it's hard to tell where and if we're going up or down. So it's the
Yeah, that I feel like unfortunately that's what we get for not having available testing to really keep a accurate count of what's going on. So
yeah,
no matter
absolutely.
what we do now, there's going to be like uncertainty and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
frustrating.
yeah, yeah. So the data set for confirmed cases just looks maddening to me. As someone that likes stats and knows how things should curve, it's way too erratic, and it should be following either an up curve or a down curve. But it's some days spikes, some days drops. It's just
Yeah.
craziness.
We're just relying on too many different factors, I
Yeah,
guess.
a lot of human factors.
Yeesh.
In national news, what struck my fancy is there is
So fancy.
there's a pact of the Northwest. I don't know what they're officially going to be calling it yet or not, but there's state governors that are getting together discussing how they want to open their economy even before the president says anything. Um,
Open their economy. What does that
I
mean?
don't know. I read the article and it wasn't specific, but it seemed like
What are the states?
Wisconsin. Oh no, hold on.
He's thinking really hard, guys. He might short circuit.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Anyway, so yeah, it's I know Wisconsin was one of them, and maybe Minnesota. Um, yeah, there's a few, and it's kind of interesting because this happened right around the same time that a bunch of states like New York are pushing back their stay inside, kind of offsetting each other. And
Yeah.
that worries me in a sense of honestly, civil war, because this is a very heated thing that, some people are getting very upset that people don't stay in. Some people are upset that people are even wearing masks. It's a lot of emotions back and forth with this. And when you have a state, if their way to open the economy is to like say, hey, no, everyone needs to go back to work, or you know everything's now an essential business, we're all going back to work, but the state next to them is saying, no, everyone stays inside. That's going to create a lot of friction and,
Mm.
not good things.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. You bring up an interesting point about state different states behaving differently and reacting differently to their numbers,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And I do understand the idea of wanting to open up a state like Oregon because they have significantly flattened their curve.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like they really are staying inside out of like true precaution, which is
Yeah.
good. But I could understand why people might be like, okay, it's not so bad in our state. Can we go back now? The answer is no, if you ask me. But I get it. What I don't understand are like I actually did see a an article mentioning that Virginia became the latest state to have protesters outside of the Capitol, and there are a lot of people protesting in Michigan right now saying that the government is encroaching on their civil rights and they should be able to gather and they should be able to do whatever they want. Um, so I do feel that friction there, but I didn't know about the Northwest Coalition, whatever they'll be,
Yeah,
pact.
and speaking of that, I
Um,
saw a video of people in Canada doing the same thing. They're protesting and saying they should be able to gather, and um,
really? I mean, they can if they want, I guess, but I would appreciate it if we didn't all die.
yeah. So yeah, it's a very emotionally driven, touchy subject,
It is,
and
yeah, and I haven't really thought about it through that lens for very long. So I'm not sure where I land on it, but it's certainly not one side on the side of everybody should be free to gather willy nilly and potentially kill their loved ones.
yeah.
Like, I think there needs to be some sort of measure in place. Well, think on it. We'll
I mean,
see.
I'm in.
I'll let you guys know what I come up with.
I mean, I'm like most things, really in the middle. I do think the government should have the right to say how many people can be inside your business, especially considering a public safety hazard. But I don't think it's up to the government to say what businesses should stay open and what's considered essential. Um,
Hmm.
if
Especially if the businesses that make them money seem to be able to stay open.
Yeah,
Or like the whole PPE issue where they are, auctioning them off to the highest bidder essentially. It's so messed
yeah,
up.
exactly. But yeah, like if like I don't know, if, well, in my personal life, like if my comic shop wanted to say like do drive-by service, they'll take your card, they'll give you your stack of comics because I have a hold slot, I get the same comics every month, and why not? If there's literally one person in the building and everyone else is just driving up and you get your stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point, and I do think that it's possible to be safe and run businesses. It just feels like we need some sort of commitment from those businesses to behave responsibly.
Yeah, and that's where we get in the sticky part and the hard part is, yeah, even the ones that are considered essential are not necessarily following proper guidelines as well at the moment. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, we're relying on small businesses probably would do it, but corporations and bigger entities, they don't really care and they're just going to do what they do.
Hmm.
As we've seen in many Amazon warehouses.
Oh boy, yeah.
And then I don't know what's going to happen of it yet, but the president's doing a speech, maybe even right now, but sometime soon, um, that so again about opening the economy again and finding ways to open the economy, whatever that means. I have no idea, but
It's terrifying. Literally 2,000 people died on
it,
Wednesday this week.
exactly, like it's not time to
Like
be cavalier.
it no. It's like I saw a meme today that was like someone said that trying to reopen the economy now is like saying that, oh, the parachute worked, let's go ahead and dump it when you haven't hit the ground yet.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, that seems right.
just cut the parachute once you're slowed down to the velocity. It's fine. You'll
Yeah,
keep
it's fine.
following at that same pace, right?
Hmm.
So what's going on with you in your personal life and your personal news?
Well, I will say that this past week was the 10-year anniversary of the passing of Peter
Yeah.
Steele. So I listened to a lot of Typo Negative this week. I mean, I typically listen to Typo Negative probably like I listen to a full album twice, like maybe 4 times a year, 5 times a year, but obviously in April every year. Um, so that was a thing. I don't really have any exciting news except that I have injured
Oh
myself
no.
by working out. It turns out that uh, you can't do everything you see on Instagram, even if you're the person coming up with the content.
Were you trying to do the handstand challenge?
No, I'm bummed because I can't do the handstand challenge now because my back is so messed up. Like, I have never in my life experienced this, like, quote unquote, pulling your back or throwing your back
Hmm.
out. But I did something, and for the last 2 days, I've just been like, I can't bend
Oh
over.
no.
Like, I cannot. Like, I have to, like, squat weird and sideways to try to reach the ground. Like, it's bad. I was like, what is this? And why does this have to happen now? But yeah, so I've been taking a lot of Aleve because I can't take ibuprofen, and I have been icing it, and now I'm heating it, and all the usual stuff. But that's my big news is that I am apparently no longer a young whippersnapper.
That happens.
What about you?
Um.
What's your personal
Well, did you
update?
get your stimulus?
Nope.
I got mine, so it's time to hit the club. Oh wait, now I just made myself sad. Yeah, but no, I actually did. I have no idea what I'm going to spend it on because there's nothing to spend it on, and I'm the kind of person that likes to spend money on experiences rather than things. Um,
Yep.
Even though I have a huge comic and movie collection, I'm actually a bit of a minimalist, and so it's like can't really spend money on things.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's nice to have a little
It is,
cushion
and for the people
to
that
help
need
with
it,
anything.
it's great. At least to the
Whenever it gets
yeah.
here.
Well, and then
My thing is that I haven't filed my 2019 taxes yet, so I'm going to be in the later round of direct deposit apparently.
uh,
Womp womp.
yeah.
Anyone want to do my
Well, and there's
taxes?
that the economist. I can't remember his name, but that he's like, this should last people 10 weeks. No.
What?
Yeah, he said that the 1,200 should last you 12 weeks. Would that last you 12 weeks if you had no other income coming in?
What? No way. Does he know how much food costs?
This would it would cover my rent and Taco Bell.
Exactly. It would cover my rent and like my electricity and my internet.
So even stretches farther for you. I mean, we have the same roughly size apartments, but yeah.
Yeah, but you
But
live in
I'm in
Colorado.
Colorado, so it wouldn't even last me a full month. It would not cover all my bills by even close. But
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't cover all my bills. It would just cover those
yeah.
three.
So that's kind of a thing I've been parsing mentally of just like, there's money. Yep.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see it happening. It's just
It
weird.
is.
It feels bittersweet. I keep getting conflicting reports of we're not going to have to pay it back. It's not going to be taxable. It's not going to impact our future taxes next year. And then seeing the exact opposite. It will impact our taxes next year. If you owe anything, you'll owe this on top of it. If you don't owe, if you get a refund, they'll just subtract it from it. I'm like, okay, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who has the answer here.
Yeah, I think it was
So,
brought out so fast, and this isn't the blame of anyone that wrote the bill and put it out, to be honest. I just think it's just done
mm-mm.
so fast, you can't think of all the little minutia. Like,
I
even
agree with
that's a
that. It's
big
just
thing. Oh,
scary.
absolutely, it's scary. Because then you're like,
I don't want to
do I
take out a
spend this?
$1,200 loan or
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like if I'm gonna have to pay it back, it's going under my pillow. Well, not there, but under a pillow.
The cat pillow, because she'll protect it with bites.
She'll shred it into tiny, tiny pieces and hide it everywhere.
So that's pretty much my news. Yeah, not a
Cool.
lot. Oh, my family has decided we're doing weekly Sunday meals. So we did it. We did it for
Yay!
Easter again this week, and we'll be doing it again.
That is the most adorable thing. I love it. I want all families to do it.
Okay, so let's get into our main topic, and that is the world of sports.
Sports, sports, sports,
So we
sports.
are kind of, I think we're anomalies, me and you, because we're both in the goth, punk, alternative scene, but we also like sports, and that doesn't tend to cross over all that much.
It's true. I mean, I think that stereotypes are mostly there to be broken. but but yeah, I mean, I genuinely enjoy sports and like watching competition, and I get that other people don't, and I don't care.
And I'm even wearing my Ducks jersey because it's very cold today. So
He is. Yeah, I was wearing my Avs jersey like 2 nights ago. It's Landeskog.
nice, Landy.
Hmm.
So we thought we'd break it up and talk about what sports are doing what, where they're going with things, and what's happening. And you get to be lucky and go first with the one that probably has the most craziness going on, the biggest sport in America, the NFL, the one that has Aaron, the greatest of all time, the master of the universe, Rogers.
You could not help
I
yourself, could you?
cannot.
It's true. I'm covering the NFL, and they it uh, even the thought of football season like brings warmth to my chest.
Oh, then
Like, it's like, oh, it's
then do I have to
coming.
hurt you
Except,
by what
is
one
it?
analyst might have said about all sports?
What's
One
that?
analyst said about all sports altogether, not coming back till fall of 2021.
Ouch. Ugh.
So we can
Oof.
start with that
I'm not
fact.
suffering as much as some of my friends, but if that were true, I'd be a little sad
Yeah.
about that.
So so yeah, what's going on with the footballs?
So, to be honest, uh, we don't do this podcast for money, so I wasn't going to spend 20 hours in research.
That's fair.
So essentially, I looked up a few articles to make sure that they all
All
corresponded.
right.
And so, according to the CBS Sports Network, on an article on April 3rd, league executive Jeff Pash, I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I'm going to say it that way, said this week that the season is slated to start on time.
Hmm.
Hmm. But, however, the NFL's chief medical officer, Dr. Alan Sills, is not so confident. So he said in an interview with the NFL network that widespread testing would need to be available before we could even think about reopening the league, which is kind of a terrifying
Yeah,
thought.
absolutely.
So his issue is mainly that the current recommended quarantine guidelines requires that if a person tests positive, then anyone who has been in contact with that person needs to be quarantined. So there's no real end in sight for possible positive
Mm-hmm.
tests. So it's almost like this cyclical, people are just going to be sent to their homes to be quarantined forever until we find a test, is what I seem to understand is his point. And so the big thing is that the NFL draft is in less than 3 weeks. And as of right now, it hasn't been pushed. So, I mean, they are talking about doing virtual meetings with prospects, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not confident that the season's going to start on
Yeah.
time, but it is a lot of money in that game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
and as of right now, there's no official timetable for when they'll decide. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I've heard some concerns about the virtual draft that some teams, Patriots, would happen to, hack into maybe other people's,
oh my
Zooms and
god.
stuff. And
Oh my god. I would not. That would be the next thing. Zoomgate. Jeez. Of course. I mean, granted, they would not be the only team trying to. They're just going to be the only team doing it the
yeah.
worst.
Although I would say that the NFL, I think, is the only major sport that could get away with. It wouldn't be safe for the players. Not that anything that football does is safe for the players, but
It's true.
they could actually get away with playing empty stadiums and just televising it. I feel like most people watch football televised.
I agree. I actually do agree with that point. I love live football, but most people don't. They want all the commentary and they want the graphics on the screen, or they can't tell where the line of scrimmage is, which is baffling to me, but it's true. So, I think you're right that if they only televise the games, they could figure something out. I mean, they could really up their prices on the NFL
Hmm.
network and, do something that way, but yeah, we'll see.
There's this YouTube channel I watch called That's Good Sports, and he made
I
he's
love
great.
them.
He made the joke
Yeah.
that they should sell one seat to every game, and it's like $1 million, and then you can just yell. Everyone will hear everything you yell at all the players. You'll have no lines for
Oh
the
my god.
bathrooms.
That is an amazing idea. I love it. I love it.
But yeah, that's I think
I want one seat per
there you
team.
go. Just two guys on the opposite ends of the stadium just yelling at each other.
Yep. Just screaming at each other. But they need to be mic'd so
Yeah.
that everyone can hear them.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be a new twist on football. Just one fan.
Yes. I am all game for this idea.
Since we're on football, I can throw in a thing because we really didn't put it down to talk about anyways, but the XFL has officially folded because of Corona.
Oh, really?
So they were actually doing pretty well, surprisingly, and then they filed for bankruptcy and they are done.
Oh, snap. Done,
Done.
done.
They are not coming back at all.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I never watched an XFL game, but the idea was intriguing to me.
This time was done a lot better, and it seemed like it was pretty fun. I watched a couple highlight reels and stuff, and it was real football. It wasn't like gimmicky or anything. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. I trust you, mostly.
But yeah, anything else to add for the NFL there?
Nope, that's it. You're
All
up.
right, I'm going to talk about the best sport, even though football is great. The best sport, of course, is hockey. Um, that's my favorite
Hockey.
sport. I play it, I watch it, I love it. It's amazing. So, they are being very coy, the NHL.
Oh, shocking. So many Canadians in that league.
Right? There's been many players that have tested positive for corona. So that's been a thing already. They obviously suspended operations. They're not going right now. And currently on their website, they don't give you a whole lot. There's no plans. There's no options if they're going to cancel this season and just pick up again next season, or if they're going to do like a weird like one round playoff for the Stanley Cup, or just you put every team's name in a hat and pull a name and that's who wins the Stanley Cup? No one knows. They haven't said anything. They did say safety is paramount for both their players and their fans.
Of course, they have to
Yeah.
say that.
But yeah, so they're not they haven't said anything. They haven't given any sort of timetable. They are just
Wow.
laying low, and I think they're just waiting to see what happens.
They're just suspended
Yeah,
for
I don't
now.
see this season finishing at all. Um,
I
because
agree. Not
it's
for
playoff
hockey.
time right now, or should have been.
There's so much lost
Yeah.
ground.
So
It's just how on earth would they be able to fit that back in
yeah,
when like basketball's gonna have to figure stuff out too.
yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of
And a segue into our next one.
so speaking of basketball, I am also covering the NBA, which actually is not my sport, but a lot of black people play it, so
It's
that's a
not
thing.
my sport either. So
I mean, I love the sport of basketball. I just hate watching the NBA. It is just a. It's like liking actual boxing and then watching like the WWE or something. Like it's just gimmicky to me, and I just hate it.
at least
Anyway,
you have a stance on
off
it.
my
My
little.
stance on the NBA is like, yeah, it exists. We have a team and they play games. That's my opinion on the NBA.
Yeah, I genuinely like the sport of basketball. I used to play it. My sisters played it. It's fun. It's great, but ugh, just the NBA is just eye rolling to me. But that said, anyway. So the NBA basically screeched to a halt in March, like mid March or so. It was just like, hold up,
Yep.
nothing. Their official statement is that the 2019-2020 season is temporarily suspended due to the coronavirus pandemic. And so I pulled a quote from none other than Tim Connolly, the president of the Denver
All right.
Nuggets. And he says, there's an overwhelming, this is his voice, obviously. He sounds just like this. There's an overwhelming sense of fraternity. It isn't about competition right now, but what's best for the NBA.
Jesus.
Who believes
Right.
that? Raise of hands. I mean, I can see you right now, so if you're not raising your hand, I'm judging you. Um, so, so yeah, like that's kind of the rhetoric of all of the presidents is like, we're all gonna pull together and figure this out, and I'm just like, whatever, dudes. If I hate anyone more than, well, nope, I hate the presidents and the owners of it, presidents of NBA and owners of the NFL about the
There you
same. But I will say that of the sports leagues, the NBA was probably the most informed uh, uh, about what's happening with the coronavirus since they operate in Asia
go.
and
Hmm.
Europe. So they were probably staying abreast of the situation well ahead of our actual government officials. So they probably saw the impact and was like, oh no, we have to actually do something about it. So I think they are probably at least a little ahead of everyone else in the sports
Yeah.
world.
I do know if they never come back, the last game was a Nuggets game. I don't know what happened there, but that's a
I don't know
thing.
either.
Are the Nuggets good this year? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Get a ticket from that game and then sell it for lots and lots of money on the internet in 5 years. Or even 20 years.
So yeah, they got no timetable or anything. They're just kind of waiting it out too.
No? Yeah, they're just suspended, quote unquote. So,
Interesting.
until
That's
further
how further.
notice.
So the next one that's got a lot going on is baseball, which
Really? They
they
have a lot
do
going
for
on?
the amount that hockey isn't talking. Baseball is keeping everyone very informed about what's going on, which makes sense because it would have been the start of the season right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Opening day.
So
Yeah, okay. That makes
it's
sense.
easy, or it's harder to be like quiet if they're like, are you gonna do anything? Where hockey, it's like, well,
Hmm.
it's the end of the season, we can maybe do, but this is like do we cancel the whole season? Anyways, I'm
Right.
personally not that into baseball. I think the Rockies are one of the worst teams ever created in all of baseball. Um,
Aw, poor Rockies. They can hear
I hope they
you.
do, and I hope they feel bad.
Oh,
25 years and 3 playoff showings. All right, that's all I'm saying.
it's okay, Rockies. You got this. Someday.
So I got a whole timeline. It's kind of interesting because you can see how things like really ramp up. So on March 9th, they said they are going to go forward with their season as scheduled. No changes. We're just going straight right ahead. That is on March 9th. On March 11th, only a few days later, cities started their banning of gatherings of more than 50 or 10 people, depending where you're at, and many of them were in markets that they have baseball teams, and they were going to take that in consideration and figure out what to do from there, but still planning on moving forward. On the next day, on the 12th, they canceled spring training. So that must have been their thinking as things came up, is just, okay, we're going to cancel spring training, but we're going to still try and move ahead. Then on the 16th of March, just a few days later, they pushed back the entire season until late May, even starting the season.
Oh, wow.
So they're pretty much, went, God, what was that, like a 9-day span? They went from we're going forward to we got to delay everything. Like that's the fast
Wow.
turnaround.
Yeah, it really did hit that fast,
Absolutely,
too.
yeah. It just kind of went from joke, everyone wash your hands, haha, to oh, this is a real thing.
Oh no, I'm stuck inside for the foreseeable future. Help.
On March 27th, 10 days after they pushed back the season, they said they're going to still plan to do an entire full season, which I think baseball is like 2,000 games. They have way too many games.
I
Too
don't
many
know.
games. That's your problem right there,
Many
baseball.
games that last
Yes.
500
Let's
years
put some
long.
limits. That's my own opinion on baseball. Too long. On April 1st, they canceled all international games because they have a few that were going to be playing in Asia and England and all things
Mm.
like that. And then,
Really, it took them that long to cancel? Well, I guess they were maybe hoping that it would
yeah, especially in
pass.
some of the Asian markets where it looks like they're bouncing back, maybe they could have done some, but
Mm.
no. But no. Okay, and then the last bit of news I got was on April 10th, just a few days ago, they have what they are calling the Arizona Plan. So they still plan on playing every single game, but they might be doing it in their Arizona spring training facilities and their Florida ones. So those are much smaller
Whoa.
stadiums. I don't know if that means no fans or what that means per se, but that's the Arizona Plan.
Whoa, that's wild. I hadn't heard anything about that. Huh. That's really interesting. I mean, I guess if you don't have fans at a baseball game, it's not as weird because they're 500 years long and people usually sleep halfway through. But I don't know. That's
But I
huh.
also feel like
I mean, it's one way to go
it
forward
is
though.
like it's forcing everyone to rethink everything and think outside the box and like what can we do.
Yeah. I appreciate their ingenuity, I
I mean,
suppose.
I think we can get some Oculus programmers on it, and let's just have them all play from home, and we'll have just VR baseball, and we'll watch what they're seeing.
Oh
That'd
my
be cool.
god. Oh my god. Speaking of, and this relates to sports, like the sports coverage, the sports news coverage right now is
Yes.
hilarious. Oh my gosh. I don't typically watch sports news because I hate get dudes just yelling at each other for hours on
Yeah.
end. Like the NFL Network, I'm just like, stop yelling at each other. Just say something. So I really like, my partner introduced me to CBS Sports News, which is like poor man's
Okay.
ESPN. And it's like it's actually really good. Like they do really good coverage and they don't scream at
No.
each other. They're like dudes in suits having conversations about sports. And I'm like, this is what I've wanted this entire time. So I really like them. But so we went and turned it on last time he was here and they're commentating people playing Madden, like professionals playing Madden. And I was like, oh no.
I can't.
At least they still get a paycheck? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember which announcer it was, but he was just putting videos on Twitter of him doing his play-by-plays for random YouTube videos.
I love that. Yeah, it's really, I mean, guys, check on your sports newscasters because they're not
They're
okay
losing
right
their
now.
marbles. But again, to swing back to That's Good Sports, that guy is losing his mind. He has
Oh,
nothing.
I haven't watched any recent episodes, so I will
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Like he.
So, my last report out is for the NCAA college
Yes.
basketball. Um, oh, college basketball.
You got your bracket ready?
So, if you don't know anything about college basketball, there's a little thing called March
Never
Madness.
heard of it. What is it?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Matt. March Madness is a tournament of 68 games,
Teams. Yeah.
68 teams battling out to win the championship. So, and it happens in March.
Oh, that's where they get the name. Now it all makes sense.
So March Madness was canceled,
Yep.
canceled, like done. And the entire sporting world lost its mind. Like all of my friends that, because I don't follow March Madness, I do like college basketball more than I like NBA, but I don't watch
Sure.
it at all. And I was watching my friends just like fall apart. They're like, "What's gonna happen to my bracket?" I mean, I do feel bad because I'd be sad if my sport got super canceled, but it be canceled. So
Yeah, it's the first year that everyone's bracket is correct if you just didn't fill it out.
yeah, or wrong. No, my bracket is correct because I didn't do a
So you
bracket.
won.
Haha. You hear that, guys? Suckers. So the reason that the NCAA championships being canceled, like, comes so strongly to mind is because of the way that they told
Oh,
everyone.
yeah?
Because again, it was like you mentioned, a really quick turnaround. It was like 1 week, everything's fine. A week later, everything is very much not fine. But in between, they announced that the tournament was going to start on time, but with no fans. And that was the first wave of
Yeah.
panic in the sports world. Everyone was like, what? They're going to play in stadiums with no fans? It was, I mean, everyone reported on this. If you even just type in NCAA basketball championship or March Madness, no fans, every reporting entity out there
Oh,
released an
yeah.
article
Because
on it.
basketball, especially college, that's fans. Like, you have a home court advantage.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was yeah, big deal. So then they were like, "Oh no, it's suspended,
Oh.
not canceled." And then they were like, "Nah, it's canceled."
Nah, joking, bro.
So the big question is, does the University of Virginia Hoot Nannies or Hoot Blot, I forget what their name is. The UVA Hoo Ha's or whatever. Are they reigning champs for 2 years since they're not defeated this
Uh,
year? Or how does
oh,
that work?
yeah.
Tell us what you think about that. Are the Hoot Nannies or whatever they're called the, the reigning champs of this year's season because they are undefeated or unseeded, I suppose? Or does it work
I don't
differently?
know. That's interesting.
I look forward to hearing the one
There you
response
go.
we'll get from this.
I should look at.
So that's
I should
that's
look
it.
into
That's my
NCAA
report.
hockey because they do the same thing. It's not in March, but they have a end of the year tournament too. But they have the
Mm.
Frozen Four instead of the Final Four, and but it's less fun
Mm.
because it's generally Michigan, Denver, and then two randos that get beat.
Yeah, I would think that not like college hockey wouldn't be the most exciting.
It's
Like I would think of like, well, no, I guess college hockey would be
depends
pretty
what you're
exciting.
looking for in hockey. If you're really a fan of fights, it is not a good time. College definitely frowns
Is
on
it all
that.
like technique and
Yeah.
strategy?
Now, if you want fights, minor league hockey. Those guys have nothing to lose and only stuff to gain. They are punching people.
Aw, you go, guys.
All right, to throw in one last little thing, because I am a lacrosse fan, and no one cares except me, but I'm going to put it out there. Um,
I've gone to many games with
there
you.
you
I'm just
go.
putting it
You
out
have.
there.
So there's two leagues. There's the National Lacrosse League, which is indoor lacrosse, and that was supposed to be finishing up now, and obviously they just said, "Nah, we're done." Um, I mean,
That
they
makes
don't have a
sense.
lot of money to postpone, and their season feeds directly into the Outdoor Lacrosse League, which is the Major League Lacrosse
Mm.
League, which is a summer league. And so I have season tickets to our local team, the Denver Outlaws. At least I should, because they said the season's still happening in full, but it was pushed back till March 30th, or sorry, May 30th. Um, but there hasn't been a lot of schedule or movement. So I think they're kind of waiting and doing the same thing, wait and see what they can do. I can definitely tell
Yeah,
you, though, it's easy to stay 6 feet apart from people at a lacrosse game.
that's true. Fans can just be spread out everywhere. And they can use their lacrosse sticks to like whack each other and
Oh
keep each
yeah, if
other
you have a
far away.
defensive stick, I believe those are right around 6 feet. So just hold that out, and this is my bubble.
Ram people. Jousting.
So that is what's going on in sports, as far as we can tell. Not a lot.
Not a lot, but it's
Absolutely.
significant. I mean, this is a big deal. Like I mean, certainly hasn't happened in our lifetime. I can't imagine, except for a pandemic, anything that's been this big, or war, I
Yeah, the
suppose,
only thing to
that
affect
would.
baseball and football in the same sort of level was World War II.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes
so
sense.
yeah, it's very insane to think. Although I think there's going to be some interesting stuff that come out of it. Um, Maybe out of boredom, the rise of esports becomes a much bigger thing, because that's obviously something that you can do remotely. Um,
Yeah, but I feel about esports the same way I feel about like only streaming music. Like it's not live. Live music has a place in the world. Live sports has a
yeah,
place in the world. But to be fair, to quote my partner, boxing is not going to be around for very much longer, and football won't be that much far behind it. Just from how horrifically screwed up these guys are after they're
yeah.
done.
And this might put a speed little acceleration on that, or may not. I don't know.
Hmm.
And I think there's
Who
gonna be some
knows?
interesting stuff that do come out of it. Maybe my hope is that someone's at their home right now, really bored, developing a new sport that will take the country by storm. That that's
That could
my
be fun.
hope in this world. We
All
all
right. I'll get
we
behind
all
you on
come
that,
out and we're
Matt.
gonna be playing basketball or
Oh, basketball. Hell yeah, I play basketball any day.
just yeah. That's at least my hope in the world.
All right.
My
Well,
happy
I'll
note
go
to
with
end on.
your hopeful, optimistic tone, since we know I struggle with that specific tone.
That's all right. As we balance each other out on that.
It's true.
So since we don't have sports to distract ourselves, what are you currently distracting yourself with these days?
Well, I'm definitely trying to stay abreast of what's going on with the music folks that I follow. Like I'm trying to make sure that I'm, you know, supporting in any way I can, even if I can't give money right now. I'm trying to still make sure I spread the word or whatever that is. Empathy Test did this really cool like lyrical scavenger hunt
Hmm.
where they put their lyrics for their new album on Bandcamp and they said find the message in the lyrics. And if you found the message, you can listen to their new track um, before everyone else. And I was just bored enough to do it.
Well, that's
So
fun.
yeah, it was a cool idea. I thought it was really neat. So like stuff like that, I've been trying to support people on live streams, like just trying to stay connected with the artists that I appreciate and bring value to my life. Um, and in addition, and on that same, I guess, theme, I got back to music this week, which was so good. Like, I've been in
Yay.
this huge rut of like, I have these tracks that I don't know what to do with. I keep writing new things, but I'm not liking it. Blah, 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 the usual. And it doesn't help that I've been like crazy anxious and depressed and just dealing with a lot with this whole situation and money disappearing overnight. And I sat down and like banged out this song that I really like. And so it's kind of lighting that fire again. So hopefully I'll be able to actually release an EP this year.
Awesome.
We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, it feels so good to create again, especially since I can't dance right now. And that's depressing. And I'm like injured. So I can't even do like little baby dance.
I was gonna say, are you can't dance because you're injured, or you can't dance because you don't have a studio? Because you can always make a studio.
I can't hang from things in my apartment, Matt.
I disagree.
I mean, I have a pull up bar, but if I were to rig aerial apparatuses in here, I would lose everyone's security deposit. But yeah, so that was my distraction this week. How about you?
Well, I again music as well. I actually will be doing my first solo acoustic live stream tomorrow. Although by the time this goes out, it will already have been done. But you can watch the replay, which will be up on my YouTube channel
There you go. When is it for the people that aren't listening to this in real time and just tell me when
tomorrow.
is it?
Tomorrow at 7 Mountain Time.
Okay. Yeah, I should be able to hop in there. Cool. Yay!
So yeah, I've really been plugging away at my acoustic guitar. I had my bass player Jonzo over yesterday, and we laid down some bass tracks. We're working on ways of getting the rest of our band able to record at least, either virtually or something that we can do, and then maybe record a virtual music video where we each record our own part at our own place, and then I can paste it all together. So trying stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Artistic endeavors,
Yeah.
keeping us alive.
Also, I've been working on a YouTube video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and finally got the script done for that. So moving along with that. And then I found out there's a really cool Russian movie about the Salyut 7 that I told you about. And I found it's on Amazon for free, and I'm very excited to watch that this weekend. It looks very awesome. So,
Yay!
so that's busying myself with music and videos and whatever else I can get my hand on.
Heck yeah, I am a huge supporter of lean into the arts in hard times. They'll catch your fall.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it's good stuff.
So this brings up our segment, which has a new name as of today.
Ta-da!
Only in a pandemic.
Yay! Essentially, I kept on saying to myself, like rolling my eyes, only in a pandemic, like very like exasperated with myself throughout the week. And then I was like, you know what? That's what we should call this. Only in a pandemic. So, welcome to our new segment, Only in a Pandemic. Um, so for me, my strange only in a pandemic story is this. I want everyone to picture this because it makes it better.
All right, got my eyes closed. Paint me a story here.
So I decide that I am out of alcohol, or I was out of alcohol. And as I mentioned last week, I have maybe been drinking too much, but we're not going to talk about it right now. So I, I was like, oh snap, I'm going to order a bottle of wine, a 6 pack of cider, and an order of taquitos from my favorite bar in town where I also sometimes work. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? So I call them ahead of time, tell them I'm ordering curbside. I roll up there and I'm like, all right. Roll down my window and last time I did this, like they just put the stuff in my car, but now there's even more like social distancing stuff. So they come out, they put it on a tray and they back up, and then I'm supposed to get out of my car and get the snacks and
Okay.
put it in my car and then go. So I did not plan for this, meaning I did not dress for
Oh
this.
no.
So I'm in the middle of like rich downtown Richmond in Shockoe Bottom, getting out of my car, which is probably not that weird for Shockoe Bottom. But I got out of my car and I'm like in this really nice turtleneck up top. Like it's like this flowy turtleneck that I love. It's super comfortable because I was in like video meetings that day. So
Ah.
I needed the nice done up upper half, but then my lower half was just raggedy black sweats and like uh beat up boots that I didn't even zip up. Like I just shoved my feet. And then I had also just injured my back, so I opened the door and I'm like waddling out of my car and walking around, grabbing the stuff, throwing it in the passenger side, and then waddling back around. And the most beautiful thing is that the person that was serving the food and brought it out to me, who knows me and we dance together and stuff, and she, she was like, huh, all right. I was like, yeah. And then I just grabbed my taquitos and ran. I came home and I was happy. So that was my weird only in a pandemic story. I mean, it's like New Orleans plus everywhere now. Like you can, I could have gotten mixed drinks to go, but I just didn't want any. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
that
funny.
was it was an experience, guys, and I'm kind of glad that we don't have CCTV because that would have been preserved forever.
I mean, could be worse. I just saw a thing where a guy was talked to by the police because he kept getting his mail in his underwear. And he's like, you got to put on pants when you go outside.
Oh.
Someone's gotten very relaxed in the
Oh
pandemic.
no. Yeah, only in a pandemic. Oh my. Please wear undergarments, y'all.
So I got kind of two that I think are kind of funny. One is there's a company that my band was kind of talking to about doing merch. And like we set up some designs, we're looking through them. So I got an email on our band website that they're now offering masks with your logo on it.
Oh snap. Of course they are. Oh wow. Well, now you have to get
So that's going
those.
to be the new hot merch. We had pogs before, but now masks.
Everybody like oh my gosh, you have to do that. Like, you have to. Like it's going to be a sign of the times. Like I'm going to save it for my non-children. I'll leave it to Nisha's children.
Oh man. So yeah, that was one of them. The other is I officially had to break down and buy a second pair of house pants because I've been wearing these so long and so often that they're just like either gonna rot off me or become part of me. I don't know
Oh
which way it's gonna
no.
turn. And I was like, all right, I have to get new pants. Amazon,
That's
send me some
amazing.
new pants. All right, so let's end this episode with our hermit rating on the Leonardo DiCaprio scale of 10 being
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. Wow, big blank. 10 being Howard Hughes and a 1 being the Wolf of Wall Street, which I don't give a crap about that guy's real name. So, where are you at hermiting this week?
I think that I am still at a 6,
Good.
but for different reasons. I think that I am a level 6 hermit. I
Just
feel
in
like we should
general.
just in general, I am a level 6 hermit. My stats are. Yeah, I think that I get social points for the Netflix party we had this weekend.
Yeah, we watched 2 movies on Netflix party. That was good.
And then I also watched another Netflix party with a different friend. So that was like more socialization.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then I also got hired to do some like painting, not artistic painting, just like work painting
Okay.
for cash. Since there was no interaction with other people, it was just like, show up, here's the paint, paint the thing, I'll Venmo you.
Oh,
It's
nice.
like, all right. So I did that. So that meant I left the house and I went and got the alcohol. So like, yeah, I feel like I like interacted with humans this week, even if I spend all of my nights laying in bed playing Candy Crush.
I'd say you're closer to a 5. I think you're edging into the
Really? You
5
think that?
level,
All
yeah.
right. All right. I'll take it. I'll go to 5. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. What about you? How hermity are you this week?
So I said, like I said, my family had our Zoom brunch on Sunday. I had our bass player over and we jammed. And then after the practice, because the other 2 guys couldn't come, we did a band video chat and freaked the other 2 guys out because I'm like, we're just gonna call them. We're not gonna warn them. We're just gonna call them.
Aww.
So we did that. We had the Netflix party that I did with you. So I think I didn't go anywhere, only to the grocery store. Which, by the way, apparently everyone has already given up on wearing masks at my grocery store. That
Oh,
is
really?
bad.
Oh, no. Yeah, everyone here's still wearing masks.
It went from like a total flip. Like the first week they said wear masks, it was like 80% of the people were wearing masks, and this week is the exact opposite. It was like 20% were wearing masks. It was interesting, but anyway. So yeah, it was the only place I went. Everything was delivered food wise, so maybe a 5 or 6, somewhere in that range.
All right. So we're hanging out in the same hermit area.
Yeah.
Our hermits are friends. Well, cool. Well, hopefully this upcoming week there's at least the same level of socialization.
Hopefully, we can only hope.
At least, I mean, that's usually my goal, is that like I try not to shut myself off from the rest of the world, because that's when things get really dark. But sometimes it's not really up to me.
Yeah.
It's up to my brain and its chemicals. But yeah, so hopefully this week is a little bit easier to socialize, but we know we're heading into a dark week as far as numbers are concerned. So
Yeah.
whatever we can do to stay distracted.
Exactly.
Arts things.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up. So where can you find us on the social medias?
Well, you can find this podcast at Goth and Sloth on the Instagrams and the Twitter. If you hit us up there, we will totally engage with you because we're eager to talk to people right now.
Absolutely.
And you can find me, my personal Instagram at Luna_Minwi. I almost forgot for a second. It's like, what is it? Yeah, Luna_Minwi. That's also the same on Twitter. And Matt, where can we find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at wizard_Matt. I'm always looking to talk to people on there. My public Instas is my wizard cosplay, if you want to see some pictures of my cosplays. And you can also find me on YouTube's Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. I got a few videos coming out soon of me getting drunk during the during the quarantine and unboxing things. So that's fun.
As you do.
And where can you find the person that did our amazing art?
That's right. Megan Stern is the amazing artist that did our cover art, and you can find her at www. I love saying that because you don't have to type it in. meganstern.com. That's Stern.
All right, and so I think that will do it for another episode of the Goth and the Sloth.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Wash your hands, please.